Canada needs a response to terrorism. I'm Brian Lilly with the Rebel.media. John Ridsdale's murder by terrorist thugs deserves a response, a greater response than words. Yes, I'm talking about a military response. It's clear that when it comes to fighting a big group like ISIS, the Trudeau government's heart just isn't in it. The line from some is ISIS is not a direct threat to Canada, so we can do our part with some training, far from the front lines. But there's no need to join the actual fighting. And yet, each and every time there's a terrorist attack, we get to hear from the Prime Minister himself about the outrage that's felt.
These terrorist attacks are deeply worrying and obviously unsettling to people around the world.
Like all Canadians, I was outraged when I woke up to the news that so many innocent Canadian citizens had been killed and injured. I am outraged by the news that a Canadian citizen, John Ridsdale, held hostage in the Philippines since September 21st, 2015, has been killed at the hands of his captors.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm sick of the outrage. I'm sick of the words of condolences, and mostly I'm sick of jihadis running roughshod around the world. It's time to hit back. I don't expect the Trudeau government to change its mind and send the fighter jets back into the battle against ISIS. But in this latest jihadi attack, a very specific one, Canada has a chance to send a message. John Ridsdale was killed because he was a Canadian. He wasn't like so many terror victims, happened to be in the wrong spot at the wrong time when the bomb went off. No, Ridsdale was killed by his captors in Abu Sayyaf with the full knowledge of who he was. So I say it's time to send a message by seeking retribution. It's time to send in JTF2 to mess these guys up. Now, I know that the Philippines is a sovereign country and we can't just have our soldiers march in there. But I also know there are close ties between Canada and the Philippines. They've been fighting this group of terrorist thugs for decades now, a group of terrorist thugs that recently pledged allegiance to, yes, ISIS, a group that's only become more brutal and more bloodthirsty. So here's what I propose. I say we send in our commandos to help the Filipino army eradicate some of these bastards and call it a training mission. We give them our expertise and take out some bad guys at the same time. It's a true win-win. And this would also send the message that if you mess with Canada or Canadians, then there's a price to pay. Now, speaking of outrage, of thoughts of prayers, that can only go so far. There's some that think, you know what, if we want to deal with the jihadis, we want to deal with this problem, we just need to be nicer to Muslims in general. I wish this was a joke. I wish this was someone trying to pull the wool over your eyes, but it's not. It's the thinking of some, including cabinet ministers in the Belgian government who were speaking before the European Parliament this week. It's the view expressed by Bloomberg columnist Leonid Bershitsky. Now, Bershitsky does some great work in his column deconstructing the idea that poverty drives radicalization. It doesn't, and we know that. But saying be nicer to Muslims to stop radicalization is lunacy. As has been pointed out before, the largest group of victims of the jihadis are other Muslims, ones not living up to the piety the jihadists want to impose. Secondly, history teaches us how to deal with such groups, and that's by force. Whether we're looking at the gates of Vienna, the Barbary pirates, or other examples, an army of jihadists responds only to force. We don't need to be nicer to Muslims to stop killings like that of John Ridsdale. We need everyone to unite, including those Muslims opposed to the jihadis. We need everyone to unite and forcefully say no. Then forcefully and violently, if need be, push the jihadists back.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of the Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.